Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to another episode of The Angry Chicken, the podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, and with me tonight is Willie Dills Gregory, Jocelyn Moffat, and joining us for the first time for a top-of-the-show interview is ADWCTA from Hearth Arena. Welcome, ADWCTA.
Hey, Garrett.
How you doing?
Good, doing good.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, glad you guys are having me on. How do you guys enjoy Hearth Arena so far, the new overlay?
Dude, the new overlay is phenomenal. It is.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. We're gonna have so many questions.
I'm still terrible at Arena, but the overlay is pretty freaking sweet.
Don't worry, it's step one in the process. It's like learn how to draft and then learn how to play. But once you're playing with a good deck, it changes everything. So you'll get there. We'll get there. I think, what is it? Once time this week, me and Jocelyn are gonna do a special Arena. Is that this month or next month?
It's the Monday after BlizzCon. So
yeah, because I'll be on my honeymoon, so you guys will have to improvise.
Yeah, so we're gonna do like an arena focused.
Yes.
Not like an
help
episode,
Jocelyn
but just
not lose.
help Jocelyn not suck at arena.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Hearth Arena will be a big part of that.
Yeah, having Hearth Arena and the ratings kind of assist you in building a significantly better arena deck really helps expedite the not sucking in arena process.
Yeah, it's like a net deck, and you're learning with the little bubbles that come out. So it's 2 for 1.
I've learned so much, even just today.
Yeah, the way I tried to explain it to a friend who was trying it for the first time, I'm like, no, dude, it's like, imagine if you were net decking constructed, but instead of just blindly copying a deck list, it explained why each and every card was selected in that deck list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I used, when I was first starting out in the game was in beta, and a lot of streamers were streaming Arena. I mean, I was basically using the knowledge I'd picked up from them. And so, like, at the time, it was really weird. Like, Trump really liked Raging Worgen, and, like, Spellbreaker was, like, the top card, right?
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and so I was using, like, those tier lists that people had come up with at the time, which weren't very advanced, I would say. They were just kind of what people had kind of come up with at that point. But there was no, like, it was still just, like, there's all these points that would come up where 2 cards that were fairly close would come up, and you have no idea, like, why one would be better than the other. And it's all just, experience and trial and error at that point. But now there's a real tool, you guys, with real information behind it, statistics, all this stuff. We're going to get into all that with ADWCTA.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so you're the algorithm developer over at Hearth Arena, and that
Yes, that is my title, the algorithm developer.
Yes,
We're going for a mix of you have no idea what that is, but it sounds smart.
it sounds important.
So,
it sounds very
so smart.
important.
So we've settled on that. Mostly what we're in charge with for the algorithm development is that there's this complicated algorithm going on in the back that you kind of get a little sense of when you're looking at the little bubbles, and that explains to you what's going on. Mm-hmm. But what the bubbles are actually doing is, the speech bubbles, is they're interpreting what this algorithm is doing in the background. And the algorithm is doing something totally separate that's on another level than even what's being explained. So we do the algorithm part. We actually don't write our own advice that you guys see. That's like the programmer owner of Hearth Arena writes all that out and puts all that together.
So you
Really?
basically,
I totally feel like I know you already, dude. You're telling me that's not
Yeah.
you?
Do
We're
I
like,
not
we're
sound
going
like
to
a
stick to the
Dutchman?
tier list.
so you basically pay someone to write fan fiction about you.
Oh, that would be good. We're working in some more fun tidbits to like just randomly throw in there here and there instead of all being serious all the time. Put a little color into our advice.
Yeah, after a while, like, I think the first time I watched Crip use it, that was, like, what he was kind of making fun of was that, like, you would kind of say the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
So we'd be like, nice! Like, we're going to pick, this card
What
over
in
this
the
card.
world?
Isn't
That
that
used to be something we said.
And then also the classic aggro deck. Like, that was always the thing that he was making fun of at the end, too.
Classic
But
aggro
it's-
priest.
Yeah, classic aggro priest.
I just got a 12-win run with classic aggro priest last week. It works, man. I keep telling people it works. It just
In
sounds
Arena,
weird.
that's a thing. That is a thing.
That is
Yeah.
definitely a thing. You get on the board as the priest, and then you can heal your minions like your mid-rangey yet Yeti-like minions, and then you win eventually.
You win late game because they have all these minions. Yeah.
Yeah. It does sound really weird, though. And because the whole thing patches everything together, we don't really look for, like, oh, this sounds weird, maybe we call it something different. We're just classic aggro every class possible. You
Yeah,
get,
so it's classic
now you
aggro,
have...
mid-range, tempo, Do you have control in there as well?
Yeah, we have aggro control, classic control, and attrition, which is great because now in TGT, you're actually seeing attrition decks. It used to be the mythical 6 archetype that no one ever saw because it was GVG, right? You're not going to run an attrition deck in the arena. But now people have been posting on the subreddit and they're like, hey, I have an attrition hunter. How do I play an attrition hunter in the arena?
That happened to me today with Mage. It's like, you have an attrition Mage. I was like, I have a what?
I'm sorry, excuse me while I go fetch.
Every turn and eventually you win.
Yeah.
I know tempo.
Just pretend you have that paladin deck that's in like control paladin, right? In constructed, where eventually you're just gonna have more stuff than your opponent, and if you get to the end, you will just win, and your opponent will just lose. It's actually one of the easier like archetypes to play, I think, in terms of just how easy it is to play, not necessarily that it's the best.
Well, I think, and I've argued this point when we talk a lot about constructed, where people say that control decks are all the skill and aggro is like the lack of skill, and I always say, well, actually, if your plan every turn is to clear the board, that's not necessarily meaning that there's a bunch of skill in that. It just means like I always know what my motive is here. Like I'm always going to clear the board. But with aggro, you have to kind of make a decision like when is it right to clear, when is it right to go face. That's actually a little tougher. Attrition is like, okay, I always clear the board. Eventually, I outlast you and I win. That kind of deck isn't necessarily tougher to me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the biggest differences in win rates classes is surprising, or I guess it shouldn't be surprising, but it's Hunter. Like when good players are actually, well, really good players are actually very good with Hunter generally compared to average players who like really suck with Hunter. And that's because there's one thing the Hunter can do better than any other class, and otherwise it kind of sucks, and that's kind of flip the switch and go face. If you just start out at the Hunter in the arena and you just say, I have a face deck, I'm going face, you're going to lose like a lot. Yeah. Because no arena deck starts out just going face the way face Hunter would. But you have to pick that exact right point, and that point is actually this like a very good point in that it's hard to defend against it. But if you can't find the point in which you're turning to go face, or if you're turning like half your minions to go face and clearing with the other half, it gets a little messy. So it's actually like a very hard class to play in the arena. But the results are very good if you can get a handle on it, and that's like the opposite of control.
It is a common thing where people go, oh, I'm going to pick Hunter. I'm going to pick every low card. I'm just going to smork the hell out of you. And then somebody plays a Sludge Belcher, and you go, oh.
GG.
Can't do anything about that.
Well, it's your first time on our show, so we're actually required by law to interview you, which means we want to go back.
Setting up a little straighter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
This is going to go on your permanent
record.
Super
serious.
Yeah, I'm going to put on my Inside the Actor Studio glasses and branded beard. And, ask you what your favorite curse word is, and we'll move on. No, I want to go back to so really. I guess the first question, and I'm sure if you do other interviews, this comes up, but this is your first time here. Why arena? Sell non-arena players. Sell some constructed players out there on what you clearly love the most about Hearthstone.
Okay, so I'm obviously a very arena focused player. I played ranked for one season, and I took like my own kind of mashed together like weird weapons pirate warrior in May 2014, and I like took that homebrew deck, put it to legend. Trump used it in a tournament, and then I thought, hey, maybe I could start streaming or like writing articles. Like maybe I'm really good at this game. And but since then I've just switched all the way to the arena, and that's because I see arena as kind of like a roguelike kind of game where you start a run, it's all random elements, and with skill, you can kind of manage the randomness, but at any point, your run can just stop short from like with absolutely no fault of your own. And it reminds me of like Diablo 2 Hardcore, which I played a lot of. It reminds me of poker, which I love. And it's just the challenge of mastering the randomness, which you do get in Constructed, but you also know a lot more information in Constructed. Yeah. And in the arena, you just have to anticipate so many more things at the exact right percentage, and every event is different. Every run is different. Every deck is different. You're constantly on your toes. And at the same time, the range is less like extreme. You're not thrown into a situation where you're like, oh, that's a face hunter. I know what it's going to do. I know what I'm going to do. Let's see how good I am and how good the dice roll is. I don't know what that hunter is. He's starting out with a leper gnome. He could still end up with 3 Krakens in that deck. You just like have no idea. And you have to play with all these possibilities in. And that's what really attracts me about the arena.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Like this arena was the first thing that I got attracted to in Hearthstone, and it was to me too that like, yes, there's randomness. Yes, I will pick a bad deck, and I've heard this a lot where people just say, well, isn't it frustrating? You pick a bad deck, and then it's not even
Yeah.
that you sucked; it's the deck sucked. And I'm like, yeah, of course, that's frustrating. But picking a less bad deck is a skill in and of itself. Piloting a bad deck to like 6 wins is really like satisfying. Like taking a deck that's supposed to lose and figuring out a way to make it win is, I think, a really fun challenge. And then, of course, sometimes you just like raffle stomp everyone in your path, and you get this amazing deck with like the perfect synergy, and that's also really fun and exciting too. So like that, I think, keeps me coming back to Arena. Although I do think Arena is like missing some elements that Constructed gives, which is rewards outside of what we constantly get. We'll talk about that a little bit.
Well, we hear about Hearthstone burnout all of the time, and I think one of the major components of that is playing the same deck over and over and over and over and over again on Constructed. It is not uncommon to log 200, 300, 400, etc. games with the exact same deck list within a season. Whereas,
how else are you getting a golden portrait?
Right. Well, I mean,
that's the only way.
Depending on the class you're playing, you might have 3, in rare cases, maybe 4 actually playable archetypes, but it's very rare. Warriors right now are about to go back to basically a 1 archetype meta, but
I've heard rumors of this kind of like mech warrior that's coming up in Constructed, or maybe that's not a thing anymore.
It's not here yet, but I think actually we're gonna see like Math Warrior make a comeback. I think we're gonna see that kind of the Raging Worgen OTK kind of thing that people with the actual card called Charge. I think we're actually going to see that kind of make a comeback, but yeah, it's pretty much going to be Control Warrior all day, every day.
I want to see. I really want to see like a proper Dragon Warrior, not just Control Warrior with a garnish of Alex Straza. Like,
I have seen like a Dragon Tempo Warrior that seemed okay.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I'm talking about. I saw people running it like in the last like couple weeks, maybe to like test it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if you have the good dragons in the deck, and then those can kind of act as finishers. A lot of the dragons we got introduced with in TGT are mid-range dragons, so they can actually. The problem is that Warrior doesn't get what Priest got, which is like 2 early game cards that are dragon centric, but they also still have Fiery War Axe, right? So don't really need that.
Who needs early game?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Joss. Oh, you have the next one.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like looking to the third question, and I'm like,
Bill.
I'm just gonna skip a question. Yeah.
you're very excited about that third question.
Dude, I'm so ready for that. Yeah.
So can you give us a little bit of insight? You talked about how you only played Constructed for like 1 season. You got way into Arena. Is the rest of your Hearth Arena team really into Arena, and is that what they've always done? Like, is that how you guys came together? Like, where did this whole idea come from?
Yeah, we're all very into the Arena compared to Rank. I think the programmer owner he plays a little more ranked than we do, but we've always been just kind of more Arena people. I went to Legend in Ranked as kind of a challenge to myself. I'm like, if I'm going to play this game, I feel like I should get to the highest level. I have that kind of personality where I feel weird if I don't. Like, even if this is a game mode that's not going to be my primary game mode and I know that, I want to at least get to a certain level. Maybe not like top 100 Legend, but I want to get that card back. I want to have that badge of honor. If there are achievements,
I get it.
yeah, well, if there were achievements, I would play so much Ranked. If the achievements are tied to ranked, and I still get to rank 20 every season, just for the card back. But we all play
5 games, right? Like that takes like no time.
Well, it may take you 5 games. It takes me like 20 games because I have no idea what decks are in the meta. I'm like using the classic.
Just play
decks.
Combo Druid. It'll get you there. Like at the end of the season, it'll get you 4 wins in a row every single time.
Okay, I got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like a running joke on stream where they're just watching me like lose repeatedly at like rank 23, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, guys. What card do I put in?
We should totally trade coaching. We can coach you in Constructed. You can coach us in Arena. It's perfect.
But yeah, so when we were doing a lot of Arena stuff, the programmer kind of came out and found us and said, "Hey, you guys really think about Arena in this very like pattern-like step-by-step thing, and you explain all your decisions. I think you can maybe like make this algorithm work." And he came with a not so good algorithm that didn't quite draft what it was better than what was out there at the time, but we kind of scrapped 80% of it and then like really retweaked it using some stuff as the base, but then really putting our like so that it was drafting like even at the very beginning it was drafting like more than 90% cards that we would pick when we were done with that. So that's how we became the like algorithm developers of Hearth Arena, and we've been getting like just very good reviews from Infinite players. Like Ecop came on stream yesterday, and he was like, "Hey, I just used this for the first time, and it drafted like besides like one card, like every card that I would have picked. So good job." And I was like, "Awesome, that's Ecop."
It means a lot coming from him, right?
Yeah, well, it means a lot coming from like very good
players.
players.
Yeah, he's one of the top players in Arena at the beginning when he was doing like nothing but Arena. He had like insane win rates and stuff, and he's switched over to a lot of constructed, but I still watch on his stream. He plays a lot of Arena. So, and then of course, like Hafu, who was a guest on your podcast as well, I believe, and Crip has used it on stream a bunch. So a lot of the players who play. What about Ratsma? Have you gotten a chance to work with him at all?
Oh yeah, Ratsma was the first. Ratsma was like ground level. We released it on day like 1. Ratsma was playing with Hearth Arena with when it was just a website form, and he got like 18 wins in a row or something, like with strictly Hearth Arena drafted decks.
Wow.
As he's like screaming into like the screen, like, "No, I don't want to pick that card," because he plays a very like
he's much more
particular
aggressive
style. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Hearth Arena, like it goes wherever the deck goes, so it really buys into the philosophy that Arena is far range and you can have an attrition hunter and that can work. You can have aggro priest and that would work. And so if you're a more aggro player and the deck is trying to go like mid range or God forbid for control, you're very uncomfortable when you're drafting. But then you're a good player, so you can still pilot the deck well when you see what deck you have.
Yeah.
And so that was really good for us to see that the decks that we're playing was expanding and getting people to play different types of stuff in the arena, which goes back to the burnout, right? In constructed, you may not just use the same deck a lot, but face the same deck a lot. In arena, you can use even within the same class just all different types of decks, and you're facing all 9 classes, each with different types of decks. And hopefully, and just people have different styles when they play, right? Some people like control, some people like aggro, and it's just it keeps things interesting.
Well, people play all kinds of decks. Mostly they play Mage and Paladin, but sure.
But they won't be the same Mage and Paladin. Like they won't be the same ones.
So all right, I am interested to know because I understand the tier list. That makes a lot of sense. You can actually look at it. You can see the spreadsheet and everything. You can see like this card goes above this card. They all kind of make sense to me. But when you factor in the actual algorithm that changes what these tier scores mean compared to what you picked before, how does that actually work? Is it just weighted like factors, or I mean, I know it's probably really complex and you probably can't go into it too deep, but could you give us like a little bit of an overview on what the algorithm actually does?
Okay, I'll talk about drops because that seems like the most basic normal thing. Like what you see visually when you open up Hearth Arena is that the overlay shows you a lot of synergies. Right? It's at the bottom. It'll list out all the synergies. And so a lot of people have this misimpression that synergies are the heart of Hearth Arena. This is going to find all the synergies for me. I'm going to build a high synergy deck, and I'm going to get all the value out of it. And synergies are like 15% of our scores, movements, like at most. It's just the easiest thing to show you. Probably the biggest thing that moves everything around is the archetype, which is also the most nebulous thing. And that's the one that, I'm sitting there with a giant spreadsheet, like actually with a calculator, doing math for each card, doing like, if this happens, we add this much tempo, or, this kind of tempo adjust happens to this card in this archetype in this format.
So you have tempo scores, essentially? Is that like...
Yeah, we have tempo scores, but it's not just one score. It's also split up again. And then the tempo scores are weighed against other scores, like, card advantage is 1. That's probably the big one. But then against, 12 other things, including like reach, survivability, just anything you see on Hearth Arena, it gets somewhat worked into the archetype. And then the archetype in turn goes out and affects everything else. So like if you have a fast archetype, you're going to want more 2-drops, right? Just like intuitively. And if you have a slower archetype, maybe you don't really care. You're going to have like 5 2-drops, and if you miss one, it's not the end of the game because you have like flame strikes or consecrations or whatever to catch it back up. And all of that kind of, when one thing moves, everything moves. And when one card gets added, everything shifts over again. So just for drops, like if you have a 2-drop and we're trying to figure out how to deal with this 2-drop, I am physically inputting 5 separate numbers for each 2-drop for its 2-drop score, because there's many different ways that we look at a 2-drop. Not just when it's played on turn 2, but also when it's played in later turns. Whether there's few 2-drops in a deck is different than whether there's too much 2-drops in a deck. Certain other situations on archetypes deal with 2-drops differently. Like if you have a Acidic Swamp Ooze, just to give a concrete example, it's a perfectly great 2-drop, right? It's a 3/2.
Yeah, against 5 classes, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
6 classes, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also totally good against those 6 classes to kind of hold it.
Yeah.
And it'll get more value later. And that's going to affect your deck differently than if you had a Bloodfin Raptor, which you have no reason to hold whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, just as a very basic example, if you have more Acidic Swamp Oozes in your deck, we're going to let you take more 2-drops than if you had all Bloodfin Raptors. Because then you can just start holding these cards. And some of them are more so, right? Like if you have a 2-mana card that's actually like, I don't know, Kobold Geomancer, you never want to play that on turn 2.
Yeah.
And so that has a very high like hold score. We'll call it.
Okay.
What if I just really like minions with candles on their head?
You don't have minions with candles.
You gotta program
score?
that in yourself.
You got to add whatever that is
User
on
variables.
top of the tier score.
Right.
I think it's interesting though because you can see on the overlay the base tier score, and then you can see what it was kind of adjusted to every time. So I'm always like paying attention to that a lot. Like, oh, this is. I think it's piloted shredder is like an 80, right? And so I always kind of use that as like, oh, that's an 80. And then every time I see it go up or down, it's kind of just based on, well, do I have mech synergy? Do I have lack of 4-drops? Do I have whatever? Like a lot of things. Buffs for minions means that having a sticky minion is more important because I want to make sure I have a minion for this buff. All those kind of things. You can see the way the score bounces up and down. It's really interesting. So just wanted some insight into how that actually worked. It's sounds very complex, but a lot of our nerdier fans will probably be really interested in hearing even more about it.
It hits the highlights in the chat bubble above. It'll tell you all the things that it's moving the scores by a lot. Like if it's moving it by 5 points or more, and I don't know the exact cutoff. It's different for each type of thing because some things we've been playing around with like what to show our users to like not confuse them. And I hate doing this because I feel like I'm Blizzard and I'm like, but this will confuse our players. But it's true. We can't show you everything. We've tried.
Think about the new user.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've tried. It doesn't
more
work.
than 2 synergies, man. Like you can only handle 2 synergies at a time.
Starting to get a little I don't know like understanding or like guilt over that. You're like, oh no, now I get it.
No, exactly. Because at first, especially with like the deck slot issue that's been around forever, right? You're like, oh come on, it won't confuse anyone. And then we started making the tier list and everything else, and I was like, oh, that confused people. And that confused people?
Well, yeah,
Right.
People who didn't work on the algorithm. It's,
I understand that like the deck listing. I understand that when it launched because when you look at what their goal was for the game when it came out, it's like, well, this is going to be in the store next to Candy Crush, and they want like my mom to be able to pick it up and understand it right out the gate as much as they want me to pick it up and start theory crafting decks to hell and back. So I get that. Then it's been 2 years now. Let's get more deck slots. Come on, let's move it along.
Yeah,
so.
I think we can handle it. But I think that's an interesting point that you just made about, not wanting to confuse players because you do want this to be a tool that is useful to everybody, right? I mean, and so you don't want it to just be useful for good players. But I will say this though, this is another kind of nerdy question here, but when you're looking at how you adjust the algorithm and the stats that you guys are pulling from the site, so you guys are seeing like win rates and how often you play against certain classes and all that kind of, specific class versus class win rates and all that kind of stuff. How do you adjust the algorithm after a certain amount of data has been collected, knowing that there's like this data isn't perfect? So like things like better than average players are probably more often using a site like this because better than average players are probably the ones seeking out tools, right? Picks that went against the suggested picks, like do you see that stuff? And then you see like, oh, when people go against our picks, how often does it work out? Or like cards looking better because there's, or like, so let's say a bad card surrounded by a good deck might suddenly look decent because it tends to be surrounded by good decks more often or something like that, right? How do you guys like sift through all of that data and come up with something useful?
Right now, we are not sifting. We have all the data there. We just haven't quite gotten the system in place.
Okay.
or we can have access to that data in a way that we can look at it and do these advanced kind of data analysis. And that is something we definitely will do in the future, because we have this awesome data that's just kind of sitting there. But it takes, as you can imagine, it takes one or more people a long time to sift through this, when you have to have the exact right inquiry, and you have to have a system set up that can actually pull, based on these flexible inquiries, the exact right data for you to interpret. We're doing things very basically right now. We're looking at like win rates. We're looking at win rates of players. So one of the main things we do is we separate players into good players, great players, average players, bad players. And then we see who does well with what kind of cards. And we typically do our tier list. At the end, it's still just me and Merp sitting there, like, trying to figure out a number, and we have on our tier list a lot of strings. Like, all these cards are on different strings, and if you move one up, other things move and everything goes. But they move based on kind of the highest tier of players that we can get a large enough sample size for, and their data. So that ultimately the tier list represents the highest skill level play, which is not necessarily what's best for, like, let's say an average player, or like a player who just picks up the game, right? Like, if you're a player who just picks up the game, you're going to get Fel Reaver, and you're going to screw it up. You're going to get Ventricle Mercenary, and I 100% guarantee you it'll lose you more games than it wins you.
Yeah.
But it's an okay card, / even a good card if you know how to use it. So that's always the struggle, to see where we put these cards. And we've just come up with a flat, like, we're going to pretend you know how to use all of these cards at its maximum potential.
That's actually a really interesting, like, new kind of number that you could add, is like a bad player, let's always just suggest like strong individual cards, and a good player, like, will actually put more synergy, will rate synergy even higher, will rate difficult to play cards higher based on like where the value actually stands if you play them correctly. Because like when I was first starting out, I would grab Ventrico Merc and slam it against the Paladin, and then follows the rules, and I'm like, that guy just lose, right? And that's a thing that you didn't even think of then, and a good player will always consider. So that's interesting. I'm like very curious into how that process will actually end up happening when it does. So I'm looking forward to talking to you after you guys actually delve in.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that's going to happen in the future. It's going to take a lot of work, just because you kind of have to make a separate set of tier list for, and then you have to, maybe 2 sets isn't even enough, because it's not just you have good player and bad player, right? You have a whole bunch of like gray area in the middle.
Yeah, there's a lot of in between. It's not so black and white. And then you're posed with the question, well, where's the cutoff if we only have these 2 tier lists?
I'm curious
so
what
it's
you would
probably going to be
call
a sliding scale, right? Where Venture Co starts dropping as you get like, I guess, worse. It should be the other way. Venture Co score goes up as you get better. There we go.
So okay, this is not on our list, but I'm just give me like a quick, because we get this question all the time about what makes an infinite arena player. Like, what win rate do you think you have to get to before you can say like I'm infinite?
So soft infinite happens around 6, maybe even a little below 6, which means if you play 1 arena a day and you complete your quest, you will be infinite. So it builds the quest in. And then real infinite is something like 6.6, 6.7, somewhere around there. You like actually get real infinite. Okay. Yeah, like average win rate. But if you're talking about it, that's just talking about in terms of being able to continue playing arena with the goal that you get back. Yeah. If you're talking about a skill level, then you're looking at a totally different set of things, and you have to look at like what classes they play. If you only play the top classes versus you play all classes. I mean, that's a very big factor, right? Because if the top players play their top classes, we'd all be, very easily 8 win plus wins per run.
I hear everybody always say 7, but 7 is actually beyond infinite. It's actually the average.
7's incredibly good.
Because if you're actually winning, because if you're below 7, you're actually winning 7 enough times that you're getting above the 150 goal that you put in. So I always have this conversation with people. I'm like, I think 5 is actually okay. If you're winning 5 and you're only doing the 1 arena a day and you're getting your quest in there, you're probably actually doing pretty good. You're probably paying for it almost every
and the newer arena players listening too, like it's fine if you're not hitting 5 every single time. Like you can brick, you can get a bad draft. It does happen.
I went 2 and 3 last night, I think, or 2 nights ago. I mean, I had a terrible deck and I went up against great decks. It happens. Yeah.
That actually makes me feel so much better about my arena runs, let me tell you.
It happens. Merps just went. Merps is the other guys whose face you see on Hearth Arena. He just went 2-3, like on our stream right before this.
Yeah.
I was watching as he just like, nope.
Well, I was told by you before we went on air that he did pick an angry chicken, so that might have had something to do with it.
That deck is actually, I think, 4-0. That's
Oh,
his
never
deck
mind.
size.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the angry chicken is carrying that deck.
Wow.
Yeah,
We're
Angry
going to have to
Chicken OP.
rename this show then, because we originally named it that because we thought it was hilarious that such a bad card was a rarity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the worst cards, but it's certainly not like a bottom 5 card, let's say.
I still think it's better than Wisp. I
Oh,
stand by that.
ooh.
It's tough to find a spot where it's but they're generally the same almost every time. Like almost every time they're the same card.
They're,
Infinite tempo.
Yeah.
Such a
Sure.
huge difference. I have
Sure.
to figure. I got to
All
defend
right.
my
All right. There's no like potential upside to the.
not
Wisp.
sure. I'm not sure I'd go with you on that one, Dills.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a beast.
So-
it enrages. You can buff it.
It is a
There's
beast.
lots
You
of
can
stuff going
Houndmaster
on.
it.
So
Yeah.
so I walked to so I mean, Hearth Arena's been around for a while now. You've had the website where you could hand type in your selections, and it worked amazing, but it was a little labor intensive. Now you have the overlay through Overwolf. It's been out for a week now.
Yeah.
What was the road to that like? What was it like finally getting that fully functioning overlay online? Because I'm now much more inclined to use Hearth Arena because it's amazing. It works really
That's-
well.
Yeah, that was the #1 requested feature when we first came out with this. And we were like, well, that's going to take a ton of time. And then it became so overwhelmingly the #1 requested feature that we kind of had to go, all right, we were going to just try to make the algorithm better, focus on that, and kind of make it a website. But this is a road that we kind of have to go down. And other people started doing it like for us, but like not giving us credit and using other sites to track our work. So we were like, oh, well, now we really have to do this before that thing gets popular.
Gloves were off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been in the works since, like, very seriously, I think since April, if not like the end of March. And that's how long it's taken to get this thing kind of like up and running. And so we're very happy that this is done now. And the programmer did all of this. We do the algorithm, so we don't. This whole overlay thing had nothing to do with me or Merps in particular. We were still working on the algorithm side while the programmer got this up. And this is kind of like the accumulation of his labor for most of this year. And it's great that it's gotten such a positive reaction. And we were so afraid of the servers kind of crashing on us and it did on day one. It did anyway. But we haven't even advertised it on Hearth Arena. Like, if you go to HearthArena.com right now, you have no idea there's an overlay.
I was
You really
actually
don't,
going.
because
I
that
was.
was my problem today.
Yeah.
I went to go use it because I was like, okay, I don't normally play Arena, but I really want to give this a try. And then I go there, and I mean, I know there's a big button that says I understand, but at the same time, it was just like version 0.3. Whatever. Go to Reddit. And I was like, okay, but I thought that was just like kind of notes on what was going on. And so I went and I entered everything by hand, and I was like, I could have sworn that they said there was an overlay or something, but whatever, I'll just
There's
give
not
the site
just
a
like
try.
an easy link on the site. It's true.
No,
Yeah.
it's nowhere. And then I'm like, import, export, and then it gave me a whole bunch of code. I'm like, I don't think this is right either. It's really hard to find.
I had
gotta
that
figure it out
issue,
eventually, but it's hard
we
to
did
find.
that on purpose.
Yeah.
And, but we'll eventually make it easy to find when we get more comfortable with our server load. So right now, if you guys are listening, this is a secret.
Okay, you are in a secret society if you're using it. And I used it day one. I will say, it was kind of hard with the initial setup because it required me to like shut down Hearthstone and reopen it a bunch of times. And it wasn't like catching whatever it needed to catch. But once it was up and running, it basically has been smooth sailing ever since. So that's pretty damn good for putting out a brand new app and having it like work like pretty much. I mean, you did have a little hiccup with the release date, right? Like you guys initially intended to have it out a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and then we found some bugs that were going to ruin a lot of people's experiences, and so we delayed it by 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks still isn't bad.
I can
One
respect
quick
that.
question about it: how important do you guys think the opponent deck tracker is, and will you ever add that? Because I actually am still using. I'm still using like Hearthstone deck tracker because Hearthstone deck tracker actually shows me what cards my opponent has played, and normally that's not a big deal in Arena, but I still feel like it kind of helps because it gives me the coin. Obviously, whenever they use the coin, I now know it's been used, but also like I feel like I mark down how often I'm going to play around Flame Strike, like the more times I've seen it and things like that. So while it might
Wait,
be
so
not
you
as
don't
important,
remember when you get flame striked in the
well, I
game?
remember that, but it's nice
Is
to
it
have a
I
little
scars?
mean,
remember.
coin, flame
Listen,
strike, those are
when
pretty
I'm
key moments,
streaming,
dude.
when I'm streaming and I'm having some cocktails, sometimes I forget.
I was about to say, Ed walked it. Clearly, you haven't seen Dills' stream past like 9 p.m.
When I'm hanging out
Eastern.
talking about whatever the hell we end up talking about, sometimes I forget. Oh yeah, he's flame struck me 3 times. But no, you know what I mean. Like it's just,
Yeah.
is that something you guys think about, or is it not really important because it's Arena?
Eventually, every single thing that Hearthstone Deck Tracker does to make your life easier, we're going to get to as well. We just this is just the first version of the product, and it'll get better, especially with things that's already like out there. So now it's kind of like they've kind of set the bar, and we're going to have to at least hit the bar. Or else it'll just be like when the Hearthstone Deck Tracker is great to use, but it would be nice if we could just use one thing, right? Like if you just play the arena. So we'll eventually get to all that. There's no timeline on that. We're still trying to make the whole Overwolf like install and transition process like a little bit more smoother. And the first thing that's going to come in, I think, is going to be. A lot of people ask for this and this is very good. I love that so many people have requested this feature, and it's to be able to check a box so that we don't show you the scores immediately, and you actually have to click something before it shows you which card to pick and what message it is. So you can test yourself.
Oh, I see.
So
Yeah.
I
definitely
would love
improve.
that. It's
Yeah.
like arena flashcards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so many people have requested it. And I was like, this is great. This is exactly how you're supposed to use this. Because what you're afraid of when you make something like this is that it will really just become a net deck, and then nobody will pay attention to like the bubbles and how it's working, and they'll try to make it like a non-thinking thing when we really want people to be learning and improving, and that way you engage more and you have more fun. And so we're very excited that was so far by far the most requested feature.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because I always find myself trying to hurry up and say it on stream before it pops up. So it's like, yeah see, I knew.
And everyone's like, I'm sure you did, Dills. I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I'm like, it already told me that Knife Juggalo was better. All right, fine.
It's like when you yell the answer to the math question in class a half a second after the other kid yelled it. So you're like, oh no, I totally knew it at the same time. I totally knew it.
So speaking about just like how knowing whether you would know what card to pick or not, and some of those tools that might help people learn, what do you think about when someone comes to you and claims that your tool or something like a deck tracker is unfair for players? Like, how do you deal with that kind of criticism?
It's like a double-edged sword, right? To make something like this, it even just like I like to think of it as normal net decking as a basis for how much it helps players. And on one hand, if you don't have this kind of net decking system at all, the barrier of entry to the arena is ridiculous right now. Like when I started playing Arena, it was before release, it was in beta, release happened, a whole bunch of people who had no idea what they were doing flooded the arena, and I became an infinite player. I would not have. It's not going to happen if I started now, right? If I start now, it's going to be the most brutal path to like learning what all the cards are, learning what a flame strike is, learning how Murloc Knights screw you, then figuring out how to prepare for that. Like, and that's just the two most popular classes, right? Instead of like seeing a warrior and just having no idea what cards they even have, and then like to put a deck together. That's so, and it's not a way that even if you play Constructed, and even if you've been trying to make your own decks in Constructed, it's not the same as making an arena deck. It's actually very different. You'll be like looking for way more synergies than you should. You'll be valuing all the cards differently, and it's just rough. So on one hand, you want to make sure that new players come in and then they have this good experience or this okay experience or just this not super brutal experience in the arena, that they feel like they have something to like take from a run instead of just like being beaten down by like 0-3 or like go 1-3 because you RNG a game or something. And on the other hand, it is a difference, right? Like if you have these tools, you are and you're not like at a skill level where you're basically above these tools and they're just kind of for consulting. You are at a definite advantage to people who don't use these tools, and this kind of builds it into the game itself, right? So that you really kind of have to use these tools if you want to play your best when you're starting out. And we try to balance this as much as we could by making the tool really focus on teaching you everything that's going on. right? And in theory, you use this tool for a little bit, and then it's just like a friend. It's a buddy. It gives you suggestions. It makes sure you see everything and you don't like miss something, but you'll be picking against it a decent percentage of times,
Yeah.
whether just to suit your own play style or because you've figured out how the algorithm is wrong here and there, which it is. Like, it's not a perfect algorithm.
I pick against it, I'd say 2 to 3 times a draft, like consistently. So
There were a couple of times where it happened where it popped up and it's like, okay, well, normally, we'd go this way, but in your case, we're going to go this way. And I was like, but I think
I
the
wanna
other
go the
way
other
is
way.
better.
Yeah.
And I was just like, nope, I'm not going to because much smarter people than me have made this tool. So I'm going to
In
go
the
with the tool.
beginning, that's a good idea. And then you slowly move away from that into where Dills is, where you're like, I'm pretty confident that, like, it's about
they're
the
just full
same,
of
but
crap.
I want it.
It is actually
Yeah.
probably a really good jumping on point for you right now, Jocelyn, because now you're forced to look at their picks immediately, and then by the time that they come out with a new feature where you have to click on something to see what their pick is, you'll have gotten to that point. You'll be like, oh, I'm pretty sure they're going for this one. You're going to click it and be like, yeah, damn right, that's the pick.
It's like a test
Right.
for yourself. Yeah, like I
There's
now
that little
know.
crown.
I always like kind of describe because we had a thread in our Angry Chicken subreddit where people were saying like, I don't like that this tool exists because that's going to make me not want to play Arena because now I know like everyone's using this, right? And like the comparison I kind of make is like, well, if I want to get good at math, I'm going to read a book about math. And in Hearthstone, there's no like book about Hearthstone. I guess somebody's written some stuff, but there's a lot of stuff to read. But this is just another in the set of tools that people in the community have made to teach the other people in the community how to play the game better. And just not using them or refusing to because other people have used the tools is just kind of like missing the point of what the tools really do. And it's not to say that like those people are wrong for their opinion about it. I'm just trying to put it in a different light of these people aren't you're not cheating by using this tool. You're just using everything that's at your fingertips, everything that's available to try to be better.
I would
at the game.
I would argue as much, and this is being devil's advocate. I'm in your camp,
Sure.
Dills. I'm very pro Hearth Arena. I'm very pro Hearthstat deck, her Hearthstone deck tracker, all that stuff. But I would argue that if anyone is out there, and I'm sure there are clearly people that do this, are just blindly using this, and they don't take the time to try and learn. They don't use it as a learning tool. I would argue like you're missing the point. Like I hate saying you're doing it wrong, but you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. But the thing is, those people aren't going to
it
affect your win rate, right?
Right,
'Cause they're still going to suck at playing the deck,
right. And
Exactly. All it shows you is how to draft a good arena deck. It doesn't actually teach you how to play an arena. And there's a big difference between playing an arena versus playing in constructed. Like I am a fairly solid constructed player. That is my happy place. And then I come in arena and I'm just like, what the actual F is going on right now?
it's like you accidentally stumble upon a fight club in a basement.
Exactly. And now I can't talk about it because if I do, people are going to punch me in the face. It's freaking crazy. So, like, it really doesn't teach you how to play in arena. It gives you a deck. And I think specific to that Reddit thread, it was saying that, like, oh, I play primarily on my tablet. I play mobile. And what I like to do is I like to play arena. So I'm missing out on that drafting opportunity. Well, why don't you draft before you go wherever you're going to go on your PC, use the tool, and then head out and play all your arena games? There's nothing saying you can't do both.
Yeah. Or get
like,
good at drafting using the tool, and then
yeah.
when you use your mobile device, you already know what you're doing. So
that too.
Right, and
I mean, the dirty secret in Hearth Arena that if you watch our stream, you would know is that Merps, my partner in crime here, he did not use Hearth Arena until the overlay came out. He just like he would play games on stream and just not use Hearth Arena, and people call him out on it. Like, why are you not using your own tool? And he'd be like, I could type it all in, but I don't really want to, and I kind of made it so I should know what I'm drafting. Like, it's trying to approximate how I draft. And that's where you want to be. And it's not like, we may be like really, really good arena players, but the bar is not at our level because the algorithm doesn't get to our level. The bar is like a couple steps below that before you can like really intelligently go away from the draft and get a better deck. Probably you still want to consult it to like get the second opinion, but it's not like it destroys drafting skill. I get that sometimes from like actually like infinite players who are like, oh, now I built this drafting skill all these years playing Arena, and now it's just all gone because now you guys are giving everyone like infinite Arena player decks, and I'm like, really? If you can't outdraft our algorithm, in which it's based on a lot of fuzzy math. I like to say if it's within 3 points, you can really go either way, and I wouldn't say Hearth Arena has taken a stance on it. You do see the crown still, just so people don't get confused. We tried it the other way, people got confused.
Numbers are hard. People like pretty pictures.
Which one do I pick?
Just put an arrow over it.
Yeah.
Just like flashing, pointing.
Confetti.
Yeah.
Have you tried confetti?
The number of people that thought like some card was 0.24 above the other card meant that Hearth Arena was really telling them to pick the card that was 0.24 higher. That is a really surprisingly large number of players.
Yeah. It is a funny thing because like I said, I always pick against it 2 or 3 times in every draft, and I think those are the picks that I think separate me from another person who's using the site because they're just blindly grabbing it. And I've like played enough Arena over time that I think I can see the difference. Like I'm like, okay, yes, but Cult Master will win me games, so
Right.
like I'll pick, and I think that's a skill that's not going away just because the skill's here.
Right, and there's also nothing wrong with having a style, wanting to draft a certain type of archetype as many times as you can, even if it's going against what might be the most optimal choice. You see it in limited Magic all the time. It's like this guy just really likes red-green decks, so he's going to try and draft it every damn time, even if it's not the best red-green cards that he's seen in his draft.
Yep. That's one of the things I tell people who are saying like, who ask like, how do I draft against Hearth Arena? What would you recommend? Be consistent. Like no, have a plan of how you're drafting against Hearth Arena. Use it as the default base, and then say, I'm always going to go X steps more aggro, and then know how to do that. And you can be very consistent in your whole drafting. And Hearth Arena will eventually come to you, but in the beginning, it's going to start in the middle, and it's going to keep trying to bring you back to the middle actually, because your average offering rates for the cards are going to be bringing you back to the middle. So it's going to see that, and you're just going to have a better chance of completing a well-designed like tempo mid-rangey kind of deck than going like super control or super aggro. But if that's what you're comfortable with, like push your deck in that direction. And if you get there, Hearth Arena will go with you. If you don't, you'll at least have a deck that that even if it's not a deck you're the most comfortable with, you just want to play that, right? Like I definitely have times where I start out and pick number 1, I'm picking something 6 points lower than my tier list. My tier list, which is very much how I think the cards are rated, I'm just going to pick the worst cards slightly because I want the Blizzard to set up my mage, because that's how I want to play a mage this run.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Now, let's get a little personal. If that's cool with you.
I love getting personal.
You are a man. You are a man with very strong opinions, especially when it comes to Arena and Hearthstone. You are, for me personally, an outlier. Generally, sir, I'll see a video or I'll see some post on Reddit that I just vehemently disagree with, and I will just write that person off. However, Mr. ADWCTA, you have brought a lot to this community, and after sitting here and talking to you for almost an hour now, you are a damn smart and easy to talk to person.
Thank you.
However,
compliment.
However, your most recent video regarding the Warsong nerf ruffled my jimmied my rustles a bit, or rustled my
Ruffled
jimmies.
your angry
Ruffled
feathers?
your feathers.
It ruffled my
supposed to
feathers.
ruffle your angry
Angry
feathers.
chicken.
Yeah. It was
Missed
too easy.
opportunity.
It was too easy.
Oh.
It was too easy. I could just I could put on a chicken mask and pretend to be Ben Brode, but so you got rather heated in your most recent video. I was sitting here going, "Oh man, I agree with your comments, sir, but some of your more metaphorical discussion it's I feel like I'm losing your message in the noise." So how would you go about fixing arena balance? And maybe not even a warrior specifically, but
I'm also curious, have you softened your stance at all from that video? Because that video was made like day of.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah, that
not
video
your
was made,
stance,
like-
but like your language towards Ben
Yeah.
Brode. Your attitude towards Brode seemed very volatile at that moment.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I'll fill in like a bit of the context of how I made the video. And it was that, the Warsong Commander, if you guys haven't seen the video, it's hashtag Arena Warriors Matter, back to step 1. or Square One, which kind of gives you an idea of where that video is going to go.
And you made a video based on our episode 100 when we had Ben Brode on.
Yes.
Where we asked him about Arena Warriors, and he made some positive statements at the time. And so to make the contents like the context real for people, the back to Square One was like, oh, we've now come backwards from that point. Right. Okay.
The video before that was called Progress that you mentioned, and so you can see like that was a much nicer video than this video. And so the process I did is, I guess this run's coming up probably. This is going to get uploaded to YouTube like sometime in the middle of this week. But I started playing. That was a day that I was going to stream. I had heard the news about the Warsong Commander. I saw the nerf, and I basically ranted for like a half hour on stream. So if you thought the video was bad, that video was made a day later. That video was after I had calmed down and I thought I could be coherent. And I wanted to record the video on the night up to get like the fresh take, but I realized that I wasn't going to be able to articulate my points at all, and so that was not going to be a good video. So I still wanted to get the perspective like fresh and the reactions fresh, but I actually waited a day so that I could articulate what I needed to say. And that's why I think the first like 3/4 of the video that ended up coming out was actually like very articulate and coherent and outlines the normal points before I really just kind of kept going. And I kept going because I told myself I'd stop. But the video was outlined, and that video happened before Ben Brode made his video public. I was actually recording it when it was released, and so I had no idea that was coming out. And when I posted the video, I did say I would have been a little nicer if I had seen the video, because it's always nice when a developer like addresses the issues, and that communication was really good, just as a thing to do, right? Like the soul of the cards comment, like that's getting a lot of attention, and that's because it's ridiculous and it deserves a lot of negative attention. But just the fact that he even put himself out there and did that was good. And even though Arena only got 20 seconds out of 9.5 minutes, that's better than 0 seconds. Right, which was really the alternative. And so, I would have softened my stance a little. But to give you the context of how I made the video, I had an outline. It was what I have on the upper right-hand corner. It said, what, how, why, and next. And then I hit record. And that's it. There was nothing written out. There was no more thought given to it before I hit record than that. And that was on purpose, because I did want to capture what I think a lot of the community was feeling. And so on Reddit, it was supposed to be I thought it was going to be kind of controversial. Like you guys are pointing out, right? Some of the language was a little, not like the language, some of the metaphors were a little on the far side.
They were extreme.
If it was... There were really only, like, for me, there were only 2 points where I was just like, dude. Other than that, like, it was any other day, like, if it was without, like, I feel like the two, like, hardest hitting comments, I probably would have just been like, the video was a little long, but I'm totally on board. But then there were, like, those two little just jabs that I felt were very personal, directed at Ben Brode, where I was like, oh, damn, that was rough.
Yeah, because I was feeling personal.
I think it was emotional for you to have this happen, right? So, like that's what me and Garrett had talked about at the time, and I was like, I agree with the sentiment completely. And then I like watched it, I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. But again, like day of videos are going to happen like that. Day of streams are going to happen like that. That's just kind of, that's kind of the nature of it.
It was interesting too, because we knew you were coming on, and I was just like, well. I was like, I want to talk through some, like at the time, like you were saying, if you had recorded your video right after you heard the nerf, if we had done this interview right after I'd watched your video, it probably would have come off a little different too. Because I was like, well, damn, we've never had a guest where like I watch one of their videos and I'm just like, I completely disagree with your conduct, sir. But
and I think that's I really don't like censoring myself. That's why I do this. We're very passionate about the arena, and we talk about burning out and things like that. And I know like some of the streamers are burnt out at this point from Hearthstone, but like we're never going to burn out. At least not that I think of. I kind of know me and Merps' personality. We have very addictive personalities. We actually I spent the last year. There's been no social life, right? Like between Hearth Arena and our stream and everything else, it was just go to work. I'm in Manhattan. I work one of those Manhattan hour jobs, which is like more than 60 hours a week. And then I do Hearthstone related stuff. Maybe grab a drink with a friend once a week or something like that. And it's just Hearthstone, and it's just Hearthstone Arena. And for an entire year, Blizzard has just been gradually killing my favorite class. Like very gradually, but very pointedly. A warrior, I used to average 8.5 wins per run with. It was tied with my major class.
Vanilla warrior was like one of the strong because Fiery War Axe was just such an amazing tool, right?
Yeah, and I love the flexibility of you can just go card advantage because you have weapons and that takes out an opponent minion, and you can armor up, or you can switch and just start throwing your weapons to their face if you're getting a little. It was a very skillful class. And they just knocked it and knocked it and knocked it, and they did not think about Arena at all. And I didn't say anything. I was like, well, look, though, it's Arena, right? It'll rebalance itself. And it just didn't. And they didn't. And TGT came out, and I finally had enough. If you watch my other videos, like the non-Arena Warriors Matter videos, we're generally very calm. We're not like a random like troll online that runs around screaming at things. We don't go around and do things like that. That's not, we're an educational kind of stream, and we even try to keep the dank memes down to an acceptable level.
I think
it's a trigger.
I think that's part of the reason why I had such a personal reaction, because I've been following you guys for a while now, and that was my perception of you. And then I saw your reaction. I'm like, did he just say Ben Brode beats his wife, or is as bad as someone that beats his wife?
I did not say that.
You said you likened it to being as bad as someone who beats his wife, and I was just like,
it's what I thought it was, and like what I had said to you, Garrett, was like it's colorful metaphors to illustrate the point, right? Which is the point, right? Is that you're feeling neglected as a player of a game, and specifically a player who plays one type of this game, which is the Arena, which is one of the big. When it came out, it was like it felt like these were two equal parts of the pie. It was like constructed in Arena. And I think as time has gone on, it's felt like Arena has just been kind of squished to the side, and constructed has become this big balloon of like the tournament scene and the rewards and all the things that you get are just overshadowing what Arena is at this point now. And I think that's why I got the emotion, and I felt it like I wanted Patron to go away as bad as anybody, but for it to go away in this manner. And we did a show last Thursday where we all talked about this. And we all basically had the same type of opinion, which was you could have made it a 2-drop or something, right?
Like this,
Like if they had made it a 2-3 for 2 that did the thing it does now, it would have been balanced, right? And it would have been another 2-drop for Warriors in Arena, and that would have been cool. That would have been fine.
I mean, what hurts the most is that they didn't think about it, and it's probably even worse if they did think about it, because the reason they gave for why it didn't change was solo the cards, and I don't. To have that take precedence over one of your two major game mode balance when you know that it's an issue, that's just borderline. Like, I still think that's borderline a ridiculous thing, and I think they really just like forgot to think about it from an Arena perspective. They're like, we need to kill Patron. How do we best kill Patron? Well, this works. Okay, where we all agreed, we're all agreed, and no one said anything about the Arena. That's
my read on the situation too. Is like I kind of walked away from like, this really sucks for Arena, but I'm also looking at them like, well, the only way this came about really is because like this was not like. Arena just wasn't a factor. This was not for Arena. This was for constructed. Yeah. It's the old, the squeaky wheel gets the grease at this point. And really outside.
So we're squeaking louder.
Exactly. And I was bringing it back around to compliment you, because Hearth Arena really is at this point the go-to place to have Arena discussions. And you guys that are yelling at the top of a building with a megaphone, fix this.
Yeah. At least, I'll say Ben Brode did address it in his video for 20 seconds. I will give him credit for that, but I think you're spot on about all this stuff. Sorry, Jocelyn, I think I interrupted you.
Oh, it's okay. All I was going to say, I was going to reference what Ben did say in the video and just kind of ask you, like, does that give you any hope? I mean, he came right out, he said, the card sucks, Warriors suck in Arena. We know that. Do you have hope for the next adventure or expansion that they might actually take Arena into consideration and that you might see a fix to Warrior?
I do have hope that in the next expansion, they will definitely be very kind to the Warrior. At this point, if it's not, I don't even know why they're saying things. Like, this is just the most horrible PR team at Blizzard ever. Yeah. Like, so it's
just
going to happen.
Don't mention it anymore if you don't.
Right.
Just pretend there's 8 classes. Just Warrior's not a thing.
So I think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to be able to find a solution that'll totally fix the problem without doing something weird with offering raids or something like that. They would have to get really creative to fix it in one adventure, because there'll be one common card probably, maybe also a rare card on top of that. I don't care if that's a fire elemental and a muster for battle. That's not going to make the Warrior in the Arena relevant and match up with Priest, which is the second worst class in my opinion. But I do think it's going to trend in that direction. What really kind of annoyed me about the whole Warsong Commander situation is that Ben Brode obviously came out on the Angry Chicken, and he said that they were going to release. They knew that Warrior had a problem, and they knew what to do to kind of fix it, which is to release new, better cards. And then they were done. That was their solution, and it wasn't like oh, well, now we should consider Arena when we do things. It was more of well, now we have a solution to this particular problem. Like, people got rowdy. Now we get to have a solution. We put it into place. It'll come out. It'll solve the problem. What really needs to happen is that Arena needs to be treated roughly in the same, like, stratosphere as constructed. And to do that, you have to think about Arena whenever something is moving, whenever a piece in your game is moving that affects the Arena. There should be some guy that just raises an alarm in Blizzard and says, hey, this is going to affect the Arena in this way, and that's negative. And that guy is not there right now, or that guy has like a voice that is very unimportant compared to, just...
I think that guy might be right now sitting in New York talking to a bunch of guys on the Angry Chicken. I think, I think there's there isn't a guy who's as passionate, I think, about it as you have proven to be. And maybe the answer is get a guy who's as passionate as you, if it's not you.
And hopefully after this whole thing came out, because, we put the video up, it was on the line of inflammatory unacceptable and inflammatory barely acceptable. I didn't know how it was going to be taken, but it got 1,000 upvotes, 86% upvoted. So there's definitely a large minority of people who are Arena players, who are really feeling like left out, and who share kind of, maybe not to the same degree, but who get a large part of what we're putting out there in terms of hashtag Arena Warriors Matter. And that's something that I think Blizzard will start noticing and taking more note and just caring about more, because we're being loud. The first video I made about hashtag Arena Warriors Matter was about being loud. It said we said nothing for about a year, and no one else said anything for about a year for the Arena. It was just little murmurs, you kind of discuss it politely and say, well, that's Arena. And now we're being loud, so they're hearing us, hopefully. And next time they nerf a card, you bet someone's thinking about the Arena.
Well, they listen to this show. I know for a fact that a bunch of them listen to this show. So, Blizzard, pay attention. Arena matters, man, especially Warriors. But yeah, I'm with you though. Warrior was, to me, I remember specifically one of the funnest times I had in Arena early on was a 9-win Warrior deck that I drafted. Nice. This is when 9 wins was the top, and I thought it was I was drafting. I was yeah, this deck is so bad. Oh, this deck is so bad. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go face all the time with this deck. That's how I win with this deck. And I just went face, and I went 9 wins with it. And I was just like, nice. That was the coolest experience. I look back on that really fondly, and it just sucks now because I pick Warrior now as kind of a novelty to myself to well, let's see what we can do with Warrior this time, because we're already, we've done well lately. And sometimes I'll get 6 or 7, but
that's a good way to bring yourself down in the Arena. Just select
just
Warrior.
Gotta remember why Warriors aren't around. Although I will say this, whenever I see a Warrior at 7, 8, 9, 10 wins, I'm deathly afraid of what's in their deck, because there's something amazing in there that got to that point.
Deathwing's incoming.
Completely selfish question for you, ADWCTA. I want arena tournaments in the worst way. I want to turn on Twitch. I want to watch arena as an esport. I'm really done with constructed. What are your thoughts on that?
People have tried to host arena tournaments several times, and Blizzard doesn't have the infrastructure set up within the game to make that an easy process. It's hard enough right now to set up a constructed tournament. I don't know if you guys have set up your own tournaments.
They're nightmares.
Yeah, and so how difficult operationally it is just to get a constructed tournament to work, and that's somewhat supported by the software.
Well, because the software has the rules in place to allow you to do that. It is actually impossible to run a true arena tournament. We have the Lord of the Arena. It's a lie, everyone. You can't have more than 2
third
type
true
of car.
Server? Nope, can't take that.
Nope.
That becomes a wisp.
Also,
that's what happened in the Lord of the Arena. Hafu had to win the last game with a wisp because they couldn't remember what her other choices were when she picked the 3rd card by accident.
Yep.
Like
That is
that's the
just-
arena tournament scene right now, and they did it really well too. Like Lord of the Arena got that done. I thought the production values were great, and it's just stuff you have to deal with.
And
But notice like the prize pool of that tournament though was basically
You mean the
nothing.
best prize? What? That was the best prize. You know how much money I would give to have that prize? The prize, by the way, guys, was a global emote on Twitch. Global.
Okay,
Everyone
yeah,
has
that
access
is
to
pretty
it.
you want that, and like they want, and Hafu wants that. Sure, yeah, okay.
not as
That
much
is
as they
something
want
that's hard to come by.
$100,000.
But
Like,
like, there's like
Priceless.
25,000.
Literally priceless.
There's $25,000 like tournaments going on like every weekend.
Yeah, no,
So,
I know what you
and
mean.
I'm saying, yeah.
Like you can't become a professional limited player in Hearthstone.
No.
You would starve. You
Right.
would actually just become a streamer, which I guess is fine too. But like I think it's all coming. I think there's a market for it, and maybe it's not going to come from a top-down system like Blizzard. Maybe there'll be more and more Lord of the Arena type tournaments as people get more into it. I think between #Arena Warriors Matter and now that Hearth Arena is more accessible, and now the conversation is really shifting more towards Arena in general in Hearthstone. I mean, you guys talk about the news a lot for Hearthstone, and I think you can kind of get the sense that just people are talking more about the Arena in the past few months than they have before that, whether it's because of constructed fatigue and that we've been playing constructed for like 2 years now. Maybe it's time for something new, or if it's because just I mean, I think Arena's more replayable in general.
Yeah.
And
Anytime I play 6 Paladins in a row in Constructed, I head over to Arena to play 6 Paladins in a row.
Yeah, I was about
It's
to say
like,
that's not
it's-
going to help you. Dude.
Yeah.
At least they're different paladins.
Yeah,
And
true.
They all have
Not
Murloc
all
Knight.
of them have muster for
but-
battle on turn 3. Just most of them.
I don't know how that works. I had that same experience, and I know statistically that can't be true.
Yeah.
Muster for
I'm-
battle's
No,
a
they-
rare card.
I'm pretty sure.
They always have friggin' shielded minibot into muster, like every single time. It's uncanny and crazy.
I'm fairly certain using Hearth Arena just gives you better luck because I almost never get Paladin as a choice, and when I do, I never see Murloc Knight. I am on my first Arena run using your overlay, and I got Paladin, and there's 2 Murloc Knights sitting in my deck, so
What?
yeah.
Cheats,
Wins
hacks.
incoming.
Good about
Yeah,
that.
bad
Yeah,
hacks.
I blame the overlay. So
I mean, we actually, like, secretly, this whole Ben Bro thing, this is just to make a cover-up. We signed a deal with Blizzard so that if you're using the overlay, Blizzard knows, and they will actually give you better offering cards.
Oh, wow.
I will
And
say
they will
that
match you
tonight,
up with players, like, ready to disconnect, right? Right before they get
I did one run with the actually typing it in, and that was my 1 in 3. And then I did another run that I just started, and I'm 1 in 1, and that was with the overlay. So I think you're onto something there.
Oh, yeah. You didn't have the overlay installed.
I
That's
didn't have the
problem.
overlay the first time, and that was the problem.
Real quick, because we're gonna have to move on to some other stuff, but we want you to plug some things. But you mentioned on your stream one time, that when you switch over to the 4th tab, I think, or whatever it is, the deck basics that kind of outlines what the deck is supposed to do and whatever, and gives you the curve. There's a score at the bottom, which is like the standard score for each card. And you had mentioned what the average was, and I haven't been able to remember what that was, and I couldn't find it anywhere. What is the average score? It's usually around 60 something, but is there an average for that number?
Yeah, so it's it's called, like, I don't know, the Arena tier list deck score or something, and
Yeah.
it literally is you take all the tier lists, not the Hearth Arena adjusted numbers, but just the tier list numbers.
Yeah,
you add them up and you divide it by 30.
The base
Yeah.
tier numbers, yeah.
The base number, and the average is 64. It differs
64.
by class. Paladin's going to be a lot higher. Warrior's going to be a lot lower. But on average, it's going to get you a 64. And we do have something in the works. I don't know when it's going to come out because I've submitted the whole logic map of it to the programmer, and that was like over the summer, and it just kept getting delayed with the overlay. But there is actually going to be something called the composite deck score that comes out that will be what Hearth Arena actually thinks your deck is worth, rather than this like very rough estimate. Although even, like, to give you an idea of how important in the Arena getting good cards are, just this deck tier score, that for an average 4.5 win per run player, having a top like 5 percentile versus a bottom 5 percentile deck is a swing of more than 4 wins. For a 4.5 win per run player, the swing itself is more than 4 wins. So it goes from 6.5 to like 2.5 or something.
wow.
So I was looking over my recently finished runs, and I was noticing the score, and I hadn't really known what the hell that was. And I noticed that on my 12-win run, I had a score of 67, and I was like, "Oh,
deck.
above average."
Powerful deck,
right?
at least.
Yeah, and then I had like a 2 and 3 with a score of 59.
Oh
So,
my god.
Yeah,
That better
which
have
I
been
think
an
is like
aggro
really
deck.
hard to get.
If that was
But
not an aggro deck, that is one of the like really
it
bad
was
decks.
a rogue deck. Yeah, it was a rogue deck that I got like some of the worst cards I've ever gotten in a deck. Like it was bad, man. It was real bad. I had like Mad
mine
Bomber,
was-
but a ton of 1 health minions. Like nothing worked well
Ooh.
together. It was just all bad.
That's tough.
I think the one where I did 1 and 3, I had a 61.2 or
Yeah, that's bad.
0.5 or
Okay,
something.
so yeah, so
okay, so I
it's
had
nice
a
to
bad
look
deck.
back
Okay,
at
it's not
that,
my
though.
fault.
This is why I wanted
Blizzard
to
gave
ask
you a
that
lot of
because
bad
it's
arena
nice.
cards.
You should make some of this information like public on the site, like
Yeah.
easy to see on the site to kind of
Yeah,
give people
yeah.
like, here's your deck was this below average, and it kind of gives you like a sense of when I played that deck. Oh, I didn't do well with it. It wasn't me. It was also I had a bad deck. I think that's useful to people. So
Yeah,
that's
all
why I was curious
the
about that.
statistics we wish Blizzard would show us, but you're not Blizzard, so you can show it to us.
And we went through a similar thing with Constructed too, with people who, would get to rank 10 and think they were just the most terrible players ever until Blizzard started telling us at the end of every season, like, oh, you're in the top 5% at rank 10, you're in the top 1% at rank 5, or, whatever. Their percentages obviously shift month to month, but still, you get the idea. It made people feel like, even though they weren't hitting Legend, they were still decent players, and it kept them going month after month. And I think that is something Arena's missing too, is because it's so random. Me coming in and not being a consistent Arena player, if I go in, I go 1 and 3, I'm like, well, I'm just shit, so I'm gonna stop now and never go back to Arena
That's
again.
why I don't play Arena. Yeah.
But then knowing that, a score of 61 or 61.5, whatever it was, is actually a really low score, and I'm going, oh, okay, so I probably did kind of okay given the deck that I drafted. So I think that would be really useful to get people more excited about going back in over and over to Arena.
Yeah, I mean, my goal for a deck that has a 61 tier score, if it's not like a super aggro deck, is usually like 5 wins. And then I'm like super happy about it. Whereas for like a normal deck, I'm shooting for 12. But when you have a deck like that, I think Dale's mentioned it earlier. In Arena, you always set different goals depending on what your deck is. And the tier score is not perfect, but it's a rough approximation of kind of where you should be setting your goals.
Another reason.
And something I think that also gets lost is people think it's like they should get and become infinite players. Like if they don't become infinite players, they're like not good players. No one should be an infinite player. Because if you're an infinite player, Blizzard now makes no money off of you whatsoever if you're an arena player. You are infinite. You have unlimited gold to do things with. In theory, you just kind of have to... And if you just play arena, you actually just never give Blizzard any more gold.
Yeah, you never
So
ran gold. Yeah.
it is so much harder to be an infinite arena player, like a true infinite arena player, than it is to be a legend rank player. And people don't think of it that way. They think, oh my god, you've reached legend. But legend is... 50% or more of your games if you play long enough. Realistically, you probably have to win like 55% of your games unless you're like actually just sitting there playing the entire month. But infinite in arena is a much lower percentile than that. So if you get to like soft infinite or even a win or like half a win below that, if you're getting 5 wins per run, you are a very good arena player.
Yeah,
compared to
you're
like
way above average.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I think people in this community tend to say like, oh, you're not oh, you're not top 100 legend, oh, you're not infinite, oh, you're not whatever, like, and it's like, well, then don't tell me anything about this game because you don't know anything. It's kind of a ignorant way to look at it because there's again shades of gray within what makes somebody really good or not. We should let Eduardo plug his stuff, though.
Absolutely.
We've been talking too much.
I know. We thought we were going to do 20 to 30 minutes, and here we are. I still have more to talk about.
This always happens.
We went deep. You've been really gracious with your time, Eduardo, so thank you.
Oh, no, not at all. I think I always love talking to people. I mean, if you just watch like the stream or you see what we upload, like we really love talking. Like me and Mervs, we're both huge talkers.
Well,
I could stay on here all night and just like chat.
For those who are unaware, though, you do have your own podcast where people can hear you talking all kinds of arena stuff. So let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so we started our podcast because we had this is actually the story of how we started our podcast. I've known about you guys and I've listened to you guys in podcast form for since I guess right around when I started the game, just to get general Hearthstone information. And I've always thought that there was only one podcast. And it turns out there's a whole bunch of great Hearthstone podcasts. And when I did a search for
Even
it,
more popping up, yeah.
yeah, and it turns out none of them were about the arena. Zero. There were like 12. Like, we're talking about raising awareness about the arena and how like a whole bunch of people play arena and there's not enough content produced about it. And this was like a place that I thought needed to be filled, because out of 12 podcasts that are, all very good, none were even 50% arena focused. And so we came in and we created the Lightforge podcast, which is 100% arena focused. We talk about like Lord of the Arena tournament. When that happened, we got Hafu on after she won. We've had just people in the arena community come on. We had Simcopter on a couple weeks ago. We're having Shady Bunny on next week. Almost sure we're getting Crip in a little bit after that, but no promises yet. And so we're trying to get this arena podcast going. And we started in August. We also talked very deeply about like just learning stuff in the arena, as well as general topics like arena anxiety and things like that. So it's if you are interested in the arena, whether you're just dipping your toe in it or you're an intermediate player and you want to learn more, definitely the Lightforge podcast. Give us a shot.
Yeah, it's really good, and I could say personally that I know these guys are taking it very seriously. When they were getting started and had questions about stuff, they were seeking that information out to make sure that it was like top-notch stuff. And it really it's noticeable like how you guys have continued to improve as each episode has gone on, and it's I highly recommend it for arena.
No, thanks.
Anybody who's like interested in just like Hearthstone at all, it's just an interesting podcast to listen to, so everyone should check it out.
Yeah, I mean that means a lot coming from you, Dills, for the Angry Chicken, because this is like the gold. Like, if listeners, if you don't know how hard it is to make a podcast, like I had no idea when I came in and like talking. I was like, well, I record myself talking and then I make a podcast, and it is way harder. Like, we do everything, right? We have a YouTube channel, we have a stream, we have Hearth Arena, we have articles, tier lists, all that stuff, and this is one of the hardest things to like actually like consistently like put together every week. And really, you guys do it at like such a high quality, and that's the kind of quality, production value wise, content wise, that we aspire to do.
Oh,
You guys are
geez,
doing
well,
it, man.
shucks,
Thanks.
Edwakta, thank you.
And also, you guys do stream as well too, right? So
Yeah.
tell everybody where they can find stream and the YouTube and all that
Oh,
stuff.
I actually need to do this. This is my problem. So our stream and my name. No, my name is ADWCTA or ADWCTA or ADWCTA or ADWCTA if you're
Like
Chris.
Grip says.
What-
Yeah,
what-
Grip never tries to
Is
say
it
it any other
actually
way.
an
It's
acronym?
good.
Like,
You
where
need-
does it come from?
You need more vowels.
I do. I need. That's why we keep inserting a random vowel between like the D and the W. No, between the W and the C. I don't even know where we're inserting the vowels.
I believe it's between
this
the
was
W
not
and the
a
C.
name ever meant to be pronounced. I made it up in middle school. I was really like, you think I was like emotional in that
awesome.
video? I was like really like emo and like very, very weird in middle school. I think everyone was weird in
I was
middle
about to say,
school.
it sounds like
It's an
you and
awkward
I
time.
would have been
Eh,
best
that's
friends.
normal.
We would have sat in the corner listening to like My Chemical Romance or something.
Yeah, something like that. And so that's where that acronym comes from, which means I don't tell anybody what that acronym stands for.
But it
They-
is an
that's
acronym.
their- yeah, right?
It
That's
is
what
an acronym,
All
and
right.
people have come up with a easy to remember way for it, which is all day we crush the arena,
Yes.
Nice.
which is actually very
Conveniently
fitting.
worked out, right?
That actually wouldn't have been
Totally.
another. That would also would have been a good title for your arena podcast.
Yeah.
All day we crush the arena.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good. But so now I have to like actually spell my name anytime I want anyone to find stuff, and all the time I get. So I try to tell my friends about you, but then I didn't because I couldn't tell them about.
Because
you.
I was like, you know what? Forget it. You'll
Well,
never
it
remember.
probably works in your favor then that Crip never actually pronounces it and just spells it.
It's great. I love it. That's actually like if you can't pronounce it, that's a totally legit way to do it. That's better advertising for us than actually saying the name.
Yeah. So again,
So
for
it
no
is
one knows
Twitch.
how to type it up.
Twitch.tv/ADWCTA.
Yep,
Alright.
and we do 100% arenas. Generally, we go play by play. Like, we talk a lot. Like I said, we talk a lot. There's some fun streams, but we're generally pretty serious about it. We're currently on 300 12-100 runs in a row, going for our fourth. Maybe Thursday, maybe next week. We're kind of like, we're getting a little anxiety here, right? Like the fourth 12-win hunter of all classes in a row.
It's gonna suck when you have to pick like Mana Wraith on the first pick, and you're like, "Oh, damn it!" Like, here we go.
I will say one of the hunters that went that far had a wisp in it. It worked
Ah.
out really well for a hunter.
That's
All
a very
right.
aggro
That
card,
was
man.
value, though.
better than Angry Chicken. Better than Angry Chicken.
Debatable.
Well,
Not in 100. I want that beast, man. Kill command activator.
That's true.
Well, Adwocta, thank you again for coming on, and again, everyone, go check out everything ADWCTA, and definitely check out the Lightforge. I really enjoyed the talk today, so thank you again.
Thank you guys for having me on. This is like making it for me. It's like the angry chicken. Like other people may think like whatever, right? Like other measurements, but for me, like the podcast, it's a very important part of what I view as like the Hearthstone community, and I'm really glad to finally be on the show.
Yeah, man, we gotta have you back.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And if
Right.
and anytime if I even catch wind of the discussion of competitive arena on your show, I'm just gonna crash it.
Go for it. If we catch wind of competitive arenas, we would all be like giddy schoolgirls, like and being like and just completely go crazy, because that's like you said, right? That's the next step. That's the big thing. That's what's going to get a lot more interest into the arena, and it's inevitable. It's just a matter of when it happens. And Blizzard could help, but it could also work the other way.
Yep. Well, great, Adwocta. We'll see you again.
See you guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man.
Have a
Have
good
a good one.
Oh my gosh, that went so much longer than we expected.
Yeah.
It did,
we
but
have so much
I
still to cover.
I
Go,
couldn't
go, go.
really stop. We're gonna have to cut something
It's
now.
not like
Cut crazy game stories. Trust me, cut crazy game stories.
all right. Yeah,
We could probably just cut emails too. Honestly, I think the news
Yeah.
is actually kind of important. This week.
yeah, there's quite a bit to cover. Just a reminder, patrons, our call-in episode is tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/amovetv. There is a post up right now on patreon.com/TAC. If you want more information, check it out there. Now let's get into the news.
Good news, everyone!
BlizzCon is just around the corner, guys. Like, holy crap. We sat around off air, which is terrible radio, informing people of like what we personally planned, but just planning all the stuff, doing our itinerary and making Google calendars and figuring it out. We're going to be at World Podcast. We're doing our meetup. There will be posts up very soon on amove.tv about where we are going to be at BlizzCon. Come out, come see us, and we'll definitely be announcing it on next Monday's show. But check out amove.tv for more information. It'll be coming up later this week. But more interesting than our personal selfish crap is the official BlizzCon schedule. It's out. Oh my god. And I don't know about you guys. Honestly, not that surprising.
No.
Yeah, I'm always excited for BlizzCon, but this is definitely not going to be a big. It's first of all, it's unfair. They're not going to be able to top last year. Announcing a new IP is something that happens very rarely with the fine folks over at Blizzard Entertainment. And but this year it looks like we know everything that is coming, and we're just going to be getting more information about those things. We're getting more info on Legion, more info on Heroes of the Storm. No info on Diablo because there's not that much to show. Apparently, there's like one panel.
We just got a bunch of stuff. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly. And there's two Hearthstone panels. It looks like the one everyone is going to make sure they do not miss is going to be on Friday at 4 p.m. on the main stage in Hall D.
Yep.
Because it mentions, quote, adventures yet to come. So it's looking like we're going to hear about the next Hearthstone adventure.
Which is what everyone was calling anyway. Everyone was saying, expansion, adventure. It's time for an adventure.
That's what it seems. Yeah. Which we're not sitting here sounding super excited. Of course we're excited for a new adventure. I'm just like holding out hope that we hear about some type of new system, improvements to Observer, maybe competitive arena, maybe more deck slots, something.
Tournament mode.
Yeah, I just want a little something. I want something I didn't expect, even if it's one little thing. If changing one card, like Warsong Commander, can send us all into a tailspin that's on fire, either because you're super excited and you're setting off fireworks inside, or because you're so angry steam is coming out of your ears, then I'm sure, just saying, when more deck slots are coming, the roof is just going to explode.
Oh, people will lose it. People will lose their minds.
Right. We are clearly in love with this game. Hearthstone fans are very passionate fans.
Geek is when Ben Brode announces more deck slots.
Geek is how the worst BlizzCon ever begins.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
But that's like still the most memorable beginning to a
Is
BlizzCon.
Is it really?
Ever.
I'm pretty sure last year when they announced a goddamn new game was a bigger.
No, but I'm just saying, like, do you
beginning.
remember like what they said specifically in their speeches? That was the first time they like hammered something home, like over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean,
You
like,
remember Overwatch, obviously, but do you remember what was said after?
Yes, as a matter of fact, because they actually
What
like
did they say?
they brought out like Jeff Kaplan, and you're like, oh my god, they let him out of the cave.
But what did he say? Like, what did he say? I'm just saying, like that geekiest thing, like that stuck with everybody, whether they liked it or hated it.
I'm pretty sure
That
it stuck
thing
with us
stuck
though,
with
because we're
people.
like, did we really just pay $200 to watch a PowerPoint presentation?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
That was not for me. That was
I
not.
didn't say the best. I said the most memorable.
Yeah, and then they replayed the Cataclysm cinematic trailer that they debuted like a week earlier. It's like, really, guys, really?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that BlizzCon was a little, but it was rough to,
But
how
here's
do they do this? They time everything for BlizzCon, or they put things out when they're ready. I don't
yeah.
know.
But here's the thing. I'm gonna bring that full circle. I still had an amazing freaking time at BlizzCon that year because it
yeah.
doesn't matter. They could have literally nothing to announce, which I want to say that was 2011. They did have nothing to announce. It was still an amazing experience. So it's just a big party. I would go at any time. Everyone out there, all of us with fan sites, were like, it's for work. It's really good networking. It's good to get out there and make FaceTime. At the end of the day, we really just want to go to the Hilton bar and get trash with our favorite developers from Blizzard.
Yeah, pretty much.
And just the people that watch the stream and listen to the show, and that's the people I'm most looking forward to hanging out with. Man. Like
Exactly.
I cannot wait to see all those people again at the
Yeah,
bowling alley.
I want all
that
of
kind
it.
stuff.
Oh my god, the bowling alley.
Yeah, our meetup will be at the same bowling alley it was at last year, Thursday before.
Spoiler alert for my post tomorrow, Garrett.
All right,
God.
fine. I still have to make graphics for it, and I'm dealing with stuff, so it might
Where
take
else
a while.
do you spoil it? But
Yeah.
the actual
That's true.
show.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The World Championship for Hearthstone pretty much goes all day, both days. It starts at noon on Friday, and it starts at 10:30 in the morning on Saturday. So if you
It
ever
does break during the Hearthstone announcements, though. They do it's kind of in 2-hour chunks. So they've got 2 hours and then it breaks and then 2 hours and it breaks.
That's
so
good.
it's not too bad in terms of big long stretches. And they also have I think the semifinals, a bit of a break, and then kind of a pre-rolly thing, and then into the finals. And the finals are only slated for I think an hour and a half. So
it looks like
it's not going to be too crazy, I don't think.
it looks like they're trying to wrap up both the Hearthstone and the Heroes finals before the StarCraft 2 finals
Before
start.
StarCraft,
Yeah,
yeah.
StarCraft
Which-
is the final esports thing of the event.
Which
And
is
it actually
amazing.
the arena, the World of Warcraft arena finals kind of overlap that. They're also going on
but
simultaneously.
they know that nobody really gives a crap.
Yeah, nobody
Hey,
actually
hey,
really
hey.
watches.
Sorry,
hey.
Holinka.
It
but
doesn't-
It's hard
nobody gives
to
a crap.
watch. It's really hard
It
to
doesn't
watch.
matter.
Other players love it, but
Yeah.
Normally, this is where I would try to put on my good host pants and be like, "No, everyone." I don't. I agree with you. I don't like watching competitive World
Arena
of Warcraft.
players
love
may matter,
playing it.
but
I
arena
love playing
WoW players do not matter.
No, it's not. It's just not. It's not my cup of tea. League of Legends is my cup of tea. Neither is World of Warcraft Arena, which is an outlier because other than that, Blizzard esports blow my mind for the most part.
Well, that's
I
the
am
thing.
so excited for StarCraft though because we missed it last year and that venue is amazing. I cannot wait to actually get to spend some time and watch some StarCraft finals.
Please save me some seats if you get there before me.
I don't know, dude.
Please.
I don't know.
Please. Fire
It's gonna
code.
be tough to save seats in that.
Yeah.
Well, you just go, excuse me, unicorn on my shirt. Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, exactly. And you better be bringing the unicorn shirt to BlizzCon. Moving
it's coming.
moving forward, YouTube in the Hearthstone news this week, which is interesting because usually us as streamers go YouTube. Meh. But they previewed their first big update to YouTube Gaming, which will allow users to stream gameplay from their mobile devices. This announcement was on
Their
TechCrunch.
Android mobile.
Yeah, I
devices.
was getting to that. This announcement was on TechCrunch, so you can go to TechCrunch.com to read it in full. It's specifically for Android users only at the moment using their mobile capture app. You'll even be able to use the selfie camera to capture your own face and place it in the corner of the game screen. So this is not Hearthstone.
Because everyone wants to see right up my nose, so I play Hearthstone on my phone.
Yeah, now this is not Hearthstone specific, but can you?
Yeah, what else? What
I
are the
can't
games
think
What
of
that-
else are
any
they
other.
going to stream?
I really want to see some Farmville and some Candy Crush.
Well, Heroes Academy you could play. Maybe
Yeah,
that
yeah.
could
Maybe.
be all right.
Can't-
But I don't know.
Has
Ma-
anyone played that in the last 3 years though?
I've never
Hero
played it.
Academy?
I've
I
never.
tried to play it the other day, and I
No,
was
no.
like, no, I don't have the patience for this anymore.
I remember being so into that game before
It was really
Hearthstone
good.
happened. I was like, oh man.
Last
That was nerds with friends.
Last
Yeah.
Monday after the show, I played Hearthstone on my phone for the first time in months, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah?
I don't give a crap. I've been playing weird ass decks. My rank is terrible this season. I don't care anymore. I'm I'm cracking back open our Angry Chicken Pirate Rogue, and I'm going to play on my phone. And I went 5-0, and I'm just sitting there like,
Nice.
damn it, I wish this was recorded in my Hearthstone deck tracker. Son of a bitch. But I also had a really good time.
Never know what happened.
And I had a couple of people spectating going, oh my God, what is going on? And I couldn't type back to them fast enough because I was on the phone.
Yeah.
So I was.
This is a really cool announcement, though, because I think the whole YouTube gaming thing has been somewhat ridiculed by the game streaming community because it's like, come on, we're not switching from Twitch. Like, we're just not.
Right.
But here's a way to differentiate themselves.
No, absolutely.
Twitch doesn't allow you to do this right now.
They're bringing a partnership program, and it's $1 less to subscribe to your streamer
How
than
are
it
you
is
going
on
to win?
Twitch.
Undercut the competition. That's
Exactly.
How.
No, and
They need
that's
to give more percentage to the streamers, though, to really make this work. Because they're going to need to get the streamers to actually come over.
absolutely. Now, if the users are paying less and streamers are making more, that is exactly how you're going to steal some of the mind share away from Twitch.tv. And it's great. This is wonderful. Now we're on Twitch. We might get shut down here because we're talking smack. But this is really good. This is competition. And it's what we need in this landscape. So
No, it's important. Yeah,
Glad to see
like
it.
right now, why does Twitch give a crap about improving, iterating, any of that stuff? And they are. I mean, Twitch definitely is. Twitch is like, they're putting out that game show client to get a little more professional for some people who need that for streaming.
Right.
Actually, their own streaming client is a big deal.
Mhm.
TwitchCon obviously just happened. That was a big thing. So Twitch is doing stuff. They're working forward, but they didn't really need to. They're kind of like sitting in that spot where it's like, yeah, we got
We're it.
essentially the monopoly of game streaming, and everybody else who tries to do it is just like a laughable attempt. When they tried to get everybody over to, like, all the guys like Ecop and Artosis all went over to that other one, nobody followed them and nobody cared. And
Yeah, I can't even remember what that was called now. But yeah, I remember
Yeah,
a whole
I don't
bunch of
either.
big
Yeah.
names went over that way.
but it's it's just like there's Hitbox or whatever it is, the other one, but
All-
there's just
But
nobody,
yeah,
nobody cares, right?
it's
And
called
then-
also ran.tv.
okay. I think the other one was like a Nuba something. I don't know.
Azubu, I think.
Azubu?
Azubu
Yeah,
TV.
sure.
Yeah, is saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zuba TV.
But nobody really cared, and this is a thing that now separates them from Twitch. This is something Twitch can't do yet.
Well, if anyone
So-
if anyone can really give them a run for the money, it's YouTube. They're owned by Google.
Sure.
Deep pockets, man. You want to?
Yeah, they have the
Like,
money to
Amazon
actually do
v
something.
Google. Let
Yeah.
the games begin.
Let's do it. I want to see that.
Oh
They-
yeah,
they should
sure, why-
settle it in an Amazon versus Google staff Hearthstone tournament. I'd watch that.
Okay.
I would really like to see Twitch step up their game in the app environment just in general. Like, I find that their apps are really not fun to use, and there's not a huge difference between the phone version and the iPad version, which I think there should be. It's just that they're hard to navigate. They crash a lot.
It's also
This is
still
weird
it's
stuff,
still not
right?
that easy to watch it on my freaking game console. I have an Xbox
Well, okay.
and a PlayStation hooked up to the biggest television in my home, and I have to go into the browser and do some weird domain, and maybe it works. I cross my fingers and hope to God that it's not a pixelated, jumpy, jerky like I'm watching stop motion animation Nightmare Before Christmas Hearthstone tournament.
Well, and have you tried logging in with Facebook on the app? Because that doesn't exist. And I was like,
Ugh.
wait a minute. Like, that's how I log into Twitch. I log in with Facebook. Why wouldn't you have this
listen,
option on the phone too?
I don't log into anything with Facebook because Twitch and similar services don't really need to know what bands I liked in college when I
Well,
created
yeah,
it
but
and never
but
updated it again.
the Facebook login thing is all about like convenience and like
I know,
we
I
put
know.
that into our Podomatic site now, and it does help. Like
Yeah.
I never have to worry about passwords and stuff because I just Facebook log in. And it was just such a weird thing when I downloaded the app for the first time on my phone. And I was like, oh sweet, let's go log in. Wait, no, I don't even know what my username and password is. I just clicked Facebook. Why do you not have a Facebook button?
Like
come on.
yeah, I don't know. It's the gaming. It is like the destination for game streaming, and it's a pain in the freaking rear to watch it on a gaming console.
I will say this though, I was really happy when Roku finally put out the Twitch official app, because they used to be like an unofficial one, and it was really buggy and weird, and like the stream would like go into like super fuzzy mode all the time and all that kind of stuff. And their version has been really good, other than the fact that when you exit out of a stream, it updates really weird, and sometimes you go into the wrong thing. But give them their
But
victories.
it's
when
getting
it
there.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
They
hoping.
have
This is what I mean. Like, Twitch needs to up their game anywhere pretty much except for a PC browser. Like, so, mobile, on consoles, anywhere else that you consume Twitch, they're really, it's all secondary to them. They're not really paying a lot of attention.
But
And
how
I
much
think
of
that
a
they
like
should.
part of our lives has it become, right? Like, not only do I stream on Twitch, but I basically watch Twitch all the time. Like the
Yeah.
people on Twitch are now people I know, their personalities,
I consume it more than anything else. Like the only thing I watch on traditional TV now is pretty much like Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. And then I've got, my Netflix that I watch sometimes when there's nobody good streaming on Twitch. I'm just like, well, right. I guess I Netflix.
It's weird.
I've been wanting to cut the cord forever. I just can't quite talk Katie into it. She still likes just being able to turn on the TV and just have something on, even if she's not necessarily watching it.
Yeah, without having to work for it. That's the thing that's still keeping us, right?
Yeah, and sports.
It's still got us holding on.
And sports. Not that I'm huge into sports, but Katie really is. And I've been into it since the Cubs are in the playoffs, even though it's not looking like that's going to last much longer. But
for me, my Sunday football. But I can go to a bar for Sunday. Like, I don't have to be at home.
F that. The last thing I want to do when watching sports is be in a room with other people that like sports, because those people are insufferable.
And have to spend like $80 to get like as drunk as I would like to get.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to have the option to just get a 12-pack.
Oh, that's so good. Why don't the WWE network is amazing? Why don't we have that for the NFL and the MLB?
I know. Seriously. Well, we kind of do, but it's really expensive.
It's not equivalent. Not the same. So, anyways, moving on. Hearth Stats.
This is a big deal.
This is a big deal, and I wish we left ourselves a little more time to really sink our teeth into it, which I guess is why we're cutting crazy game stories and emails today. So Hearth Stats posted on Reddit earlier today, right?
It was kind of this time yesterday, I think.
This time yesterday. Now, some of the feedback has since been deleted, so it's kind of hard to get a full timeline of everything if you didn't see it as it was unfolding. But basically, HearthStats posted on Reddit yesterday saying that the costs to run HearthStats was too high, and that without financial support, the site would have to be shut down. And this went on, and as Reddit usually does, some rather knowledgeable Redditors got in and were like, well, hey, what's your code like? Why is it so expensive? What does it cost? And all of a sudden, this $6,000 a month figure started getting thrown around as this general ballpark of what Hearth Stats would have to make. And the Redditors who were coders were like, holy crap, that's way too high. You should not be spending that much to do this kind of thing. Clearly, it's not coded directly. And then some, let's call them unintelligent Redditors, decided to take that information, grab their pitchforks, and just go on a huge, just a bully spree against Hearth Stats, call them scammers, and basically bully them into taking down a Patreon that they ended up setting up after they talked to Reddit, after they talked to the community, after a large number of the community said, hey, do something.
Yeah.
Give us a way to donate.
How
exactly.
do we give you money?
How do we
exactly.
fix this? Yeah.
So within the same pool, you have a large portion of Reddit saying, let us help you. And then a bunch of other people got in and started peeing and turting in the pool.
But the truth is, so the 6,000 number came from the Patreon itself, because when the Patreon hit, because people were like, hey, you should do something that we can donate. And Jeff, who we've talked to, and we've met some of the Hearth Stats guys. We talked a lot about them early on when they were starting out, and it was a great site. But the truth is that if 6,000 a month is what they needed, then there's something wrong with the site. The way it's running is not correct, and there's no need for it to cost that much. And the correct thing to point out was, hey, the code's clearly not correct. Let's figure out what we can do to fix the code. Not you guys are trying to scam us, because this isn't. They were never trying to scam anybody. I think what happened here was a little bit of the inexperience of the team. These are young guys. These are guys who are working on projects that maybe they haven't had this much ownership over before, and mistakes were made, right? But that doesn't mean that it's a scam. That just means, hey, mistakes were made. Let's fix this. We could open this code up, maybe open source it. We could,
It already was, as far as I know. It always has been.
Well, it's not open, but it's on GitHub, which means you can see it. But it doesn't necessarily mean everybody can go in.
And mess with it,
Anyway, so some things need to be changed about that, but the whole scam thing was just like, all right, that's just people being asshats on Reddit. Mm-hmm. I can say personally, I met these guys. These guys are not trying to do anything shady at all.
No,
we hope that things work out somehow. I hope they can find a way to resolve this, and we don't lose Hearth Stats.
Absolutely. It's it is my go-to outside of Hearthstone tool. I use it more than anything. It is my tracker for absolutely everything in Hearthstone, with the exception of Arena now, thanks to the Hearth Arena overlay. But before that, I exclusively used Hearth Stats along with the Hearthstone deck tracker.
Yeah, and the Hearthstone deck tracker like feeds directly into Hearth Stats, and it's like one of the coolest things ever when all my stats are here and then also online, and I can like easily access them from anywhere, and it's amazing. And it's a tool that I just would be really sad if it goes away. So I'm hopeful something can be done. We'll see, but you know, I don't think the Patreon at 6,000 is going to cut it. There's going to be someone else is going to have to step in.
No, absolutely
something else is
not.
going to have to happen. But I think it's possible. I don't think we're necessarily seeing the end of Hearth Stats yet. But that was a sad moment, right? Opening up Reddit this morning, and being like, "What? No,
No, Reddit, you done bad. You done bad, Reddit. Stop it. Stop it." Yeah, I mean, it's like if this had been a conversation that those running Hearth Stats had behind closed doors with new potential coders that they were going to hire, none of this would have happened. This really all came about because it was this big public conversation, and you get these entitled fans who want to like. You can go right now and you can use it for free, and that's the thing that really ruffled my feathers, was that you have all these people just losing their minds over yes, we sat here and we told you 6,000 is too much, and that is true, but we're also not sitting here saying burn the witch, shut this website down, they're a scam. That is not the case. If someone's coming to you saying, hey, our hobby that turned into something pretty awesome that a lot of the community seems to think is a worthwhile tool has grown beyond our control, whether or not they made a misstep along the way, or multiple missteps in the case of the coding, like, I don't know. If they're asking for support, don't support them if you have an issue with it. What do you have to go?
No, that's pretty much that simple. Yeah.
They're not. It's not like, oh God, they're taking my money. Like HearthStats is breaking in my window and stealing my wallet. That's not how the world works. Like, vote with your dollar.
If somehow they were getting something out of maybe say Blizzard somehow, then okay, HearthStats is getting a cut of your money that you were trying to give Blizzard for a game that you love. But this is something completely and totally separate. Even if you use their service, they're not even charging for their service. They're saying, here's a platform where you can throw money at us if you'd like to help, because this has a cost that we did not anticipate. Because,
Absolutely.
I mean, who sees $6K a month coming? Nobody!
Yeah, but the other thing, too, to note here is that if we shit all over people who work really hard to bring our community awesome tools, we are not going to get those tools anymore, you guys. So
No.
anybody out there who
things.
loves going on Reddit and being a complete asshole to other people, just realize you're making the whole thing worse for everybody else. And
a lot of those people, I just want to say, go try and make something yourself.
Yeah, make your own damn thing, dude.
Instead of sitting in your tower and judging the hard work and brow sweat of everyone else.
You know what? No, I want to sit here and click F5 on Reddit and then judge everything that comes across my screen. That's what I want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you're not contributing.
Reddit
You're taking away, and
I
think that's something that people don't really realize. Like that's what they're doing. But whatever.
And listen, we're friends with Jeff, who over at Hearth Stats. We've talked to him many times. We're clearly a fan of his site.
The site was awesome.
And
the
the
site
tool.
is awesome.
Exactly. And maybe to the naysayers out there, you think we're biased or whatever. We are, because it's a good tool.
But no one's ever given us $1 to talk about this tool.
Oh, exactly.
When we
We've
first
never-
discovered it, we just talked about it because we have a voice to speak about what we think is really cool and what's going on. This is one of those things.
ADWCTA did not pay us to come on and talk about Hearth Arena and talk about the Light Forge.
Yeah.
Wait, you guys didn't get paid? I totally got
Oh
paid.
damn!
Oh, crap.
That Skrilla girl.
Son of a bee. Like
I'm kidding.
like Dill's invited him
In
on.
before emails.
Dill's invited him on because he uses the crap out of Hearth Arena. I use Hearth Arena. We love it. We think it's a cool tool. We brought him on to talk about that. And it's the same thing with Hearth Arena. Also, I've never given Hearth Arena $1. I've never spent a single cent, and I feel like I've gotten a ton of value from their service.
Yep.
So, I don't know. This kind of stuff just rubs me the wrong way, and I really hope whatever happens that Hearth Stats stays around, that they find a way to keep the site going, to keep the service coming.
Whether it's someone else who takes it over or someone helps fix the code and makes it cost less, something. We just wanted to throw our support out to HearthStats because We think it's a worthwhile website and a tool that was really useful for a long time and could still be useful for a long time to come. And until Blizzard like gives us these stats, this is what we rely on. We rely on the community to make this stuff, and we need to support that as best we can. So
You're damn right, chat room. It does
and
rustle
look,
my
they
jimmies.
sent me a free shirt, you guys. Like, how are these guys scammers? I didn't even.
You better
They
split that shirt
they
3 ways,
mailed it
mister.
to me. It showed up at my door. 2 of them actually. 2 of them, in fact. I gave one away.
Oh, that's where the shirt that Jeff said I was supposed to get went.
No, yeah, he sent it to San Francisco. Like, here, you send it to Florida. That's exactly what the second shirt was for.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll remember that the next time one of our awesome listeners sends us some tax swag and I'm supposed to send them to you guys.
I've seen
keep
like
that in
0
mind.
tax swag that you've got. It's all been given away. So let's be honest here.
Well, the last one, that mug.
Doesn't mean anything.
All right, in my defense, that last one, that mug, I paid for my mug, so
Oh, that's good.
and I'm sure you could pay for your mug. So, anyways,
Yeah, they're spending $6K a month on shirts that they're sending to various podcasters, and yeah,
To talk about their service. There you go.
that's where the leak in the code was. It was in all those shirts.
It was
we
all
were
those
sending.
yeah, it was $200 a month on the code. It was $5,800 on shirts per month to just Dills to talk
I'm
about.
hoarding like behind this green screen.
Hearth Stats.
Is just
That's why you
piles
have
of shirts.
screen
Yeah.
up.
It's not even a green
Display.
screen. They sent you so many T-shirts, you piled them up and painted them green.
Yeah, that's just spray painted Hearth Stats shirts back
Yeah,
here.
that's all it is.
Yep.
That's
Oh my god.
that is all it is about. So hey, we have a new sponsor,
We do.
and
Oh, what? Oh,
and-
yeah, we got to do this, huh?
and I very rarely get excited for new sponsors, and we are at a point where now where we really don't seek out new sponsors, but we have a new sponsor, and I'm super stoked about it because it is Squarespace.com, and if you guys are listening to this show, they play a very big role in that because amove.tv, the website that I made where all these podcasts are hosted, is a Squarespace site. You go to amove.tv right now, it's a Squarespace site. There's like a billion blogs now because it's like a billion podcasts, and they're all firing off into their own RSS feeds. It's all on Squarespace, and it works wonderfully. And it really boils down to the fact that I'm a graphic designer, not a coder. I know jack squat about making a website from the ground up.
Yeah,
I just
but
want to
you
make
can take pretty pictures and just like
Make 'em-
drag them into spots where they should go, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
I just want it to work, and I want to sit there and make it look pretty, and at the end go, I made that. And that's exactly what I get to do with Squarespace. So it's
Yep.
really great.
I'm a web designer. Thanks, Squarespace.
Yeah, it was super cool when they came to us and were like, "Hey, we're interested in sponsoring your show," and I'm like, "I'm actually interested in having you sponsor us because
Yeah.
we use the crap out of your service."
I'll say this: probably half of my favorite podcasts wouldn't exist without Squarespace too, because like they sponsor every single podcast. They're awesome to the podcasting community. It's crazy.
Yeah, you know, Ed Wachter was on here. And he's like, you know, guys, I felt like I made it when I made it on the Angry Chicken. Well, I feel like we made it because we finally got sponsored by Squarespace.
Yeah.
So
And you know
true.
what? Like, I tried out Circle Space. I tried Oval Space.
Did you try
I tried-
Triangle Space?
I tried Triangle Space. I tried
Oh.
Squircle Space. Bulbous Space. These are like things you didn't even know were
the
shapes.
the infinity symbol space.
Yeah,
Did you
infinity
Google
symbol
shapes?
space, known as limniscat
All right.
space. I tried nonagon space, hectagon, septagon, ochagon, whatever. All the gons I tried, and none of them worked nearly as well as Squarespace.
That joke went on much longer than I expected it, or
Nuevagon,
really wanted it to.
Diagon. I could
Lovely.
go further.
Wonderful. Well, if you liked Dills' joke, and please, if you didn't like Dills' joke, check out squarespace.com where you can build a website about whatever it is
they all
that you
like
want. You want to build a shrine to the Angry Chicken? If you want to set up sohot.com, where you go there,
SoHot.com.
and the
is our
only
basic-
thing that happens is that you punch in sohot.com and
So hot or so not.com?
yeah, I'm sure So Hot is taken, but you know, .org or .net or .god knows what at this point, and all it does is play Jocelyn's little cut there. Go for it, and if you use the code TAC at checkout, you get 10% off your order. So
Oh, okay. This is what we should have gotten to that earlier. Yeah, TAC, check it out. All that other stuff, forget all that other stuff. Go squarespace.com, TAC at checkout. Boom.
Done.
Cheaper Squarespace.
Done. I just felt the need to let everyone know that I'm not just a corporate shill. I actually really do like the service. So
No, that's true. Yeah. Like if any of those other spaces came along, we probably would have said no.
I'm sorry. Are you directly responsible for these podcasts getting to people? No. Well, we're not interested. Thank you.
Yeah.
Here's $1 million. Okay, we're interested. Everyone has their price. Anyways, that's really kind of bringing us to the end of the show. And it went a little long, but that's okay. Big thanks again to Ed Walkden. Make sure everyone go check out Hearth Arena. Go check out the Lightforge podcast. It's some great stuff. If you like our show, obviously check out Squarespace, check out Doghouse Systems, but also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/TAC. Because of our patrons, we are doing 2 episodes a week now. We have a whole extra episode a week, 1 more extra episode a month, which we're doing tomorrow, our patron call-in episode. So big thanks to all of you who are supporting the show directly. This week we want to thank Michael S., Michael with no last initial. That's right, we had 2 Michaels that patroned up back to back. So thank you, Michael squared. Richard L., Mario Ta, and Adam L., thank you guys so much for supporting the show. We really do appreciate it. It goes a long way to helping us. And as always, you can find the Angry Chicken all over the place. We're on amove.tv. We're on fogpants.com. Big thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H., LVE, Topher L., and Barry Scott L. Our past live shows and other videos can be found on youtube.com/amovetv, and our t-shirt is on slashloot.com. We're on Twitter at TAC Podcast, on Facebook /amovetv, and at tacpodcast.reddit.com. Catch us live on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I promise I will update the graphics. I'm sorry. I'm getting married, and I don't want to go dig up those PSDs. They're buried really far in my Squarespace folder. So I need to go pull those out. And I'll get it updated soon. Check out BrianGriffithMusic.com. He made our intro music. It's some wonderful stuff. And thanks to these folks who left us 5-star reviews on iTunes this week. Do so if you listen on iTunes and you like the show. Thank you to Some 70s Guy. Thank you to A2R who said, so hot. The hype is real on this one, folks. It's almost better than unicorn shirts.
Almost.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Almost.
And, I'm sorry. I'm going to do that again. He said,
So hot.
the
Hype?
is real. There we go. That's what I should have done, but I didn't have those queued up. Thank you to Obi Rog, Abe and the CT, and the Almighty Todd. Thank you for your reviews, guys. Dills, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Willie Dills. You can also check out my personal stream, which is twitch.tv/WillieDillsSF. Don't bot me, bro. And you can also check out The Instance, which is Fridays, the World of Warcraft, plus all other Blizzard games. And that is Friday mornings. We might be moving to 10 a.m. because we had Michelle Morrow on last week, and we started an hour late for her. And me and Scott were like, this was better. I like this. So we'll see, but it is Friday mornings. Keep your ears and eyes on the Twitter for that. And then I'm actually about to go start Stormcast right now, like right after this. So that is a podcast about Heroes of the Storm. If you like Heroes of the Storm, it's one of those Heroes of the Storm podcasts. So check it out.
Cool. Jocelyn, where can folks find you?
Right here on AMove TV, I do the Gamers In every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. We also do Gamers In Game Night every Thursday night. That is over on my Twitch channel, Joss Plays, which is also my Twitter handle, so go follow me over on Twitter.
Wonderful. Go do that. You can follow me on Twitter at GarrettArt. I'm at nomoonart.com. That's my graphic design portfolio. This is also where you can contract me if you need some graphic design done. I am booked up until I'm back from my honeymoon in mid-November, but if you're not in a hurry, check it out anyway. Check out Into the Nexus, my Heroes of the Storm podcast, because literally everyone has one. And check out The Angry Nerd over at amove.tv/angrynerd. Again, check out our sponsors, DoghousesSystems.com. Use the code TAC, get a solid-state drive. Check out squarespace.com, where TAC gets you 10% off your order. And that'll be all, folks. Job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes!